All right, so we're gonna move everything at the origin here. And what I'm doing is selecting the pivot point. Does anyone need me to cover moving the pivot point again? How to do that? No, everyone has a good understanding of where to place the pivot.
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. I'm gonna clone this here. I'll tell you what, let's do it this way. And I'm pressing the shift key down, holding shift and dragging to clone that. So one of these, I have the pivot at the center of the piece down on the bottom, and the other one I may want to say I want to move this pivot point to a corner here, say this back corner. I'm going to press the insert key. I'm holding the V key down, and I'm just going to V key, yep, V, and I'm going to snap that to any one of the verts like that. The shortcut key for that is V, but you can find the controls up here. This is grid, this is curve, and that one right there is going to be for snap to pivot. So V for Victor is where you can, if you hold it down while you're dragging, we can move that pivot location. So I have two of these. And let's just make this interesting. I'm going to split this. Let's go one here, one there. Give me a second here. Let's make a little small change here. Now again, this is not about Maya and trying to, that is something that you get in one of the classes here. So let's just say I want to go ahead and put in a sink somewhere in here. So I'm going to shift and drag that down. And again, I don't care too much about, because when you're modeling, when you're producing assets for game, you have to consider about 90-degree angles. 90-degree angles are a bad thing. We don't want that. But since this is just a proxy model, what's going on here? Since this is a proxy model, we don't have to concern ourselves with beveling all the edges to make sure that they are not 90 degrees. Okay, are perpendicular. Okay, so that's kind of where we are here. So I have these two. I don't have a fridge, anything. We can always go back. So I just want to make sure that I'm moving all of these things in the correct place. What I also can do is I'm going to snap this here. V to snap. There's an isolate button. Anyone that's interested in, say, you see how I have so much on the screen here. There's a button in here for isolate. And that button should look like, where is my isolate button? Right there. That little button right here. I have a shortcut set up to the letter I. You don't have that, but right there is where you can hit isolate. If any of you ever want to sort of, you're working in Maya, you want to set up hotkeys for yourself. If you go to Windows, Setting Preferences, and the hotkey editor, what we can do here is right there, we can search for isolate. You have a few options here: search by application, search by runtime or hotkey. Runtime command or hotkey. If I type isolate, it'll show me all of these commands here that are associated with that, and there it is right there. And all you have to do is find toggle isolate selection, click here, and just hit the letter or the command or the button that you want assign that to, and then just say save and close. Okay, so now I'm able to isolate this thing, and I can move this. I'm gonna snap it. Let's frame up on this thing. Hold on, let me change my grid. I think my grid 1010. Does anyone remember that subdivision? I don't have it right off because this keeps changing here. I want to say it should be 5, or it maybe because it could be whatever you want it to be, pretty much.
We made it 1.
Made it 1. That's what I thought it was. So that's 1. Let's see. Yeah, should be. Yeah, that looks correct. Okay. So holding down the X key, snap. Hit I for isolate again. So I have these two doors there, and what we can do is you can group these things if you want to group them. Okay. So if I know I have doors, I may want to come in and just say, hey, I want to Control G. Now I have doors. And inside of the doors, I have two different doors here. Now, the way I need to name this, and it just depends on what you're doing here. We don't want to call this door cutter. but this can just be door 01, door 02. Yeah, that sound is really irritating me. Okay. And what I may want to do over time is sort of put these on their own layer also. So you see I have all these other layers here. I'm going to delete these layers by right clicking on them, and I'm going to just say delete layer, right click, select the next one, right click and delete layer, select the next one and say delete layer. Okay. If you have something in that layer, when you delete that layer, it will expose it. These are the arms for the carriage. I don't need them. I'm just going to delete them. Okay, so and that is the layer for the actual guy, which I need to place him. Right click. So if I select him and right click on the layer, I can add selected, so I can turn it on and off. Okay, so but these doors right here, the pivot point is also right there. So let's create a layer here and let's call this door or doors. Doors is already created. Maya will not let you do that, so you can't give it the exact same name. This program is set up for programmers, for eggheads, and all those people who speak that special language of coding, which I don't. That is what you do here. So you have to be. It uses that little coding, not coding language, but how you truncated type symbols and all that stuff is what it's doing there. So instead of calling it doors, we'll call it door. LY for layer. Make that easy. So now I'm able to turn those on and off. This one here, these are just my different walls there. So let's go ahead and put these flat walls, we'll call those there. I'm going to group them. Flat walls, and let's move them into the correct position. So again, I'm holding down the X key. I'm going to snap those there. That one's already there. Let's snap these back here. And let's drag and snap that one right there. So we have these walls already lined up for us. So short wall, mid wall, long wall. And what is this one? Is it the same? I think it is the same. It was just a duplicate. So let's possibly make this one a little different. Let's just go longer. And move it back. Like there. Okay, so let's create a group here. Walls. So we have a group there. We can turn that off. This one is this is the wall that was triangulated. Remember what I said, that you can tell you have to do the triangulation over here, or you can let Unreal do the triangulation if you need it to. So what we can do is really make this. I'll tell you what, let's just leave it here. I'm gonna go hold down the right mouse button, go to vertex mode, drag here, and let's bring these all the way over. And let's add this to the group. So let's see, is it already in there? No, it's not. I can, which is here, I can middle mouse click, drag it, and pull it right down there. Shorter wall right there. It's in the group. There it is. And same thing here. So let's take these. So let's put these two in a group. Control G. Door walls. Door wall. I'm gonna say right for the wall is the door entrance is on the right side. Left. Tell you what, let's just copy. Yep. Take those and let's put them in a layer. I'm just organizing. The layers are for my benefit. This information is not going to go over to Unreal. It's just for my benefit of playing around over here for organizing. So if I need to get back in here, I know where everything is. I have it. I can turn off layers, and it's easier for me to modify and make changes there. So over time, you're just going to keep building up these assets, and then later down the road, if you want to, after the whole block out phase, we can go back and even add extra detail here to really make this real intricate if we need to. That's how this works. Okay. So door walls, and look, spaces it doesn't like. So you can add spaces. You're gonna have to add underscores if you want to do something like that, or just have to keep the word. See how I have an underscore here, so be real careful about that type of stuff there. We're not gonna add the cutters or anything, even though these are not going over. I'm just gonna put these in a layer and call them cutters. Wrong one. This is what we use for the Boolean operations there. Let's move these. Move you over. All right. Wall, window, 1. Yeah, let's see. Let's turn off the cutters. Yeah, let's see what we are. Okay. Wall, window. 2. I'm going to copy this. 3, 4, and let's place all of these in here and group them. Windows. Do it already exist? Oh, it exists there. We'll just call this layer ly. Okay, so we have everything we need. I should actually do this also. Keep it together. And then the mannequin. Okay, let's close that. This one here, one of these, I'm going to put the pivot in that location on the back side, which technically this is an island. We may want to, it doesn't have to go on the back side. I may want to shift this to this side also. Let me think about that. No, let's just leave it here for the time being, but this one I want center. So let's move this one. There. Make sure I'm on the origin. If I come in here and do this also, see right up here where I get these little empty fields, if I put in 0 here, it'll snap it straight to 0. Okay. So if I come in and do the exact same thing, put in 0, it should snap it straight to 0. So instead of you having to move it by using the snapping option and dragging it, you can just do that. These are absolutes. We can change these to relative. I can rename by here, select by name. So that's just a field that you can do that through. So let's rename these. Dry island. We'll call this a center. And same thing group, Control G. Counter island and create a layer there. Let's copy this. Underscore ALY. Alright, on and off. Island, Windows, Window platforms. Okay, what is this stuff up here? That's just the mannequin stuff. I have extra stuff in here someplace. So let's make sure we're not isolating. Let's turn everything on. Oh, these are just the cutters. Group. Cutters. Okay, that's cool. Questions? I'm going to select everything, all the groups, and then I need to pretty much modify freeze transforms. Select everything, make sure everything is set to 0 so we can go through each one of these if we need to. I can just hit the left or right arrow keys to switch between each one of these and check them. I have history on these. I need to clean my history, so let's select everything again. Edit, delete by type, history, and then just make sure that we don't have history set. And let's go ahead and do a quick save. You're in the wrong layer anyway. Let me go find the correct one. Copy that, paste it here. Room mats. Let's see, assets, models, updated. Normally I teach naming convention and how you're supposed to correctly name your files in a production and what studios will often use to do that type of thing. I may do that. Let me figure out when I'm going to do that. So I do want to sort of talk to you about how you should be correctly naming your files and how you set up your structure. I don't know if I did this last week. Did I cover setting up a project? Does anyone remember? No? So let me cover that with you real quick. When you're working in Maya, you always want to set up a project. So you notice that I'm just going, sometimes I'll just come in here and I'll go in and just go file new scene and all. Well, in a production, say you're working in a production, say you're working on an Unreal project and you have to keep up with all of this good stuff. What you want to do is set up a project so this way it can be shared, it can be referenced, it can be whatever. So I'm gonna go to File, Project Window, and right here. So if I go in and say New and give it a location, my location is going to be the exact same place for the other files. You can put this on your desktop or any place on your hard drive. So my personal Maya Projects 2025 class demo is where I'm going to put this, and I'm going to go and just put it right there in that section there and hit select. So what this is every 3D package does this. Blender, Modo, 3ds Max, it doesn't matter, even Houdini. You can set up these little, get out of the way. How do I get this out of the way? So what you can do and what you're doing here is it's gonna set up these little subfolders, these directories of where it's gonna place things, and that's what you always want to do there. It came right back. So I have my location. I don't have a location yet. I thought I just set up a location. Enter. Select. This is my location, and then I'm gonna give it a name. So this will be Unreal Room Assets. So it's going to set up scenes, images. You can put all your references. If you have references, you can drop those in the source images. You have just a place for almost everything here. All right. Custom data, all this good stuff. I don't think there's an FBX version in here. Maybe, yeah, there's an FBX export. So you can come in and edit. The only drawback is it's going to also place all of these folders in here. So we're not going to do that. I like to create my own folders, which you can. I'm just saying you do have a way of doing that. Custom ones also. So you're just creating a rule if you want to create a rule. All this other stuff is set up for more visual effects, painting and all. And if you have animations, you can output your animation stuff in here. And this is a localized central place that where all of your files are going to be gathered, and then I'm going to accept that. Okay, so now if I go and look for that location, which is right here, there it is. There's the folder. Okay, if I open that up, see, everything that we need is here. So when we save out our files, this is where our files are going to be saved. So when you need to share a project with a group, or you need to set up a reference file that is going to be shared between your location and someone else around the world, it becomes a whole lot easier to do that type of stuff there. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do, I'm going to save this one more time. I need to officially save it anyway because look, see, it's going to drop it right there. This is the name of the room, and save. Now one thing that I did not do here, let's check it, is this is an ASCII file. Yes, I like to use ASCII files, but if you're gonna, this is specific to your version of Maya and you're only gonna be staying on your Maya, you can save this as a binary. It's totally up to you. Okay, there are some other options in here that you can always check on or turn off if you need to. This is the default file extension. There's a way of making a binary file. You can tell it to open up in any version, because if you don't do that, it won't always work. I don't see it in here, but sometimes you can open up these files also. Let me go and show you that real quick for you coders. So let's close it. Where did I put that file? Just give me a second. Let me go find and source that file. That folder. Let's go here. So right here, I can right click and I can open with whatever program I have, like a notepad. I use Notepad++ because it is a whole lot better than using the traditional notepad. I think you can get this free, and when you open it, when you use it, it's going to show you this in a manner like most coders would see it. So this is everything that is embedded into this one file. And the only reason why I'm showing you this is sometimes you may come across a problem where you need to go in and sort of play around with this if you know Mail, if you know this scripting language. But in here, it should tell us how this is set up, what version we're using. See, 25 and this version 0.03 or something. It's telling you it's required. But there is a way in the binary file of going in and telling it what version you want to use. So sometimes that does help. So I just wanted you to know that you can do these types of things here. So I have all kind of other little preferences, my setups for Maya, and all kind of other scripts. So see, I can open up someone's script, study this script and all. So that's what you can do there. So that's just a little bit about the program and the maintenance and how you can get in and set up your project files, and then you can modify your files if you need to do that. The next thing we need to do is start exporting. Okay. One thing I did not add here in the side of that folder, let's do that one more time. Remember what I said earlier about we needed to add an extra folder in here. So I'm going to right click here and create a new folder. FBX. You can call it FBX export. You can call it whatever you want to, but for this, the purpose here, I'm just going to call it FBX. Let me let it spin up. Any questions on anything that I'm covering right now?
No.
Okay. So now we need to go through it and start exporting. So let's I'm going to isolate. Here are all my walls here. Okay. So we can try to bring these in one at a time, and let's run a test here. I'm going to go ahead and open up Unreal. Let that go while I'm back over here doing this. Do I have 5.5? I don't even have 5.5. I need to install 5.5. So let's let that go. So the walls here. Now, you heard me speak of what's called collision. In the past, when creating assets for games, um, we would have to create our own collision volumes. And what that means is, if I wanted to have the character walk up to the wall and not go through the wall, I have to put a volume over this character or over this asset here to prevent that. There's tons of information out there on how to do it, and there's a naming convention that we used to use. I don't think we have to use that anymore, but I just wanted to mention it to you. So if you have some intricate type design and you want to make sure that you're going to keep that shape, you have cubic type volumes, or there's one called convex, and the convex will take on the shape of anything that you have that you want to send over. Unreal is pretty good right now about trying to do that, a lot of that for us. What am I doing here? I thought I had one open. First person. Let me go to the main. I don't know what's here. So let's open up that main one there. All right, so I'm just gonna come here. Let's see if we can send all of them over at the exact same time. If not, we're gonna have to just do these manually. So you need to make sure that you have the FBX exporter. Yeah, this is one of them. Let's go file new. I'm kind of working at the exact same time here. So let's close that. All right, so we need to check to make sure that we have the FBX exporter even installed. So I think I showed you all this last week. I'm going to go to Windows, Setting Preferences, and Plugin Manager. And when I open up that Plugin Manager, somewhere in here is what we need. So I'm going to just type in FBX, and let's see what comes up. You can try to use this one, and if you want to learn more about this one, I would definitely look it up. I have not had good results in certain versions of Maya from using this, but if you want the information also, just click here and it'll give you information on commands that you can put in and certain stuff. So there are tutorials out there to quickly send your files directly over to Unreal. And Unreal has a script, if I'm not mistaken, that when you use that, it'll bring the stuff in the way it should. I like to just use the FBX Maya right there. Who asked the question about the pop-up? Something not popping up. Were you talking about? Excuse me. Were you talking about in Maya, or were you talking about in Unreal?
I was talking about in Maya.
Okay. What specifically were you referencing?
Like when you're exporting it.
Okay, so we're right here where we need to be. Okay. So just make sure that you have loaded and auto load checked on for the FBX Maya. Okay, and when you do that, you can go to File, Export Selection, or you can put that button up on somewhere up here. Somewhere up here, I have it up here. I don't know which one of these. Export Selection, I think that's what it is. So you can add that to your shelf, and I showed you how to do that. You see here it says Send to Unreal. I want to say Maya automatically has this activated, and what I'm saying here is that was one of the issues that I ran into when I tried to use this one. Say all, it's going to ask you where to save it and how to save it. Test it out, see if you can get it to work. I have not had success, and then it's going to say FBX. But here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to come in, Export Selection. I'm going to get this window up. This is the FBX exporter, and this is where all the fun is going to happen here. I'm going to go and look for the FBX folder right there. Just hit the little arrow key there to go up one. FBX, this is where I want to drop all my assets. Smoothing groups, technically we don't necessarily need it for this proxy model, but you can turn them on. I cover this in more detail in a 3D class. But so what smoothing groups are is, let me demonstrate it for you right quick so you can see that. Some of you might want to know how the program is smoothing out their geometry. So let me do it this way. Do I want to use a sphere or a cube? Let's use a cube for now. Scale that up. Okay. Let's use a cube here, 2 cubes actually. All right, so I want to subdivide this thing, so I'm just gonna press, for me, Shift D is my shortcut. If you don't have access to that to smooth this, you can go to Mesh, and you're looking for smooth. And what that is going to do is tessellate this thing on around the edges, and it's going to start subdividing. It's going to take the quads, each one of these little quads here, and it's going to split it. And as it splits it, it starts to get rounder and rounder and rounder and rounder and rounder. Okay, so let me do that here a few times. So say something like that. Okay, so say this is a ball that I want to send over and make it a game asset, right? Well, inside, if you don't do what I'm about to show you, the ball will come in looking like this. See how faceted it is? It looks right there. You can control that, and this is how your games work. Especially when you have objects that are triangulated, it's going to really be more prevalent. But Maya has the ability, all 3D packages will have the ability to change what's called the smoothing angle of your geometry here. Okay, we can change it and make it look a little bit smoother here. Under mesh display, we have harden edge, soften edge, and then harden, soften. If I click this, see how hard that looks? So if you don't do this correctly, your models will come over looking like that. See the difference between these two, right? So if I come in here now and I really want to make a change here and really soften it, I can go into an option. And the reason why this is really important, really important, and I'm going to show it to you in just a minute, but we can control the smoothing between each and every single selected edge if we want to. This is one of the most important aspects you're going to run into when it comes to producing assets, producing assets for games, and how you display those things in an engine. Doesn't matter what engine it is. So I can adjust the angle here. So if I take it out and apply it, see it got soft. If I increase this thing, it's going to get a little, or it got hard. It's going to get a little softer. This look here is called faceted. This is very faceted. I can increase that, start softening. But for characters, for some of your assets out there, 179, 180, we can make it look a little bit more smoother. So those games you're playing in Battlefield, Call of Duty, whatever game, this is the trick that they're using to sort of smooth this stuff out. But the higher the polygon count, like if I come here and do that, see, it's a little bit smoother. I just subdivided that up a little bit more, but I can still come in and adjust that. We can take all of this information out to make it faceted. This is important. Okay, so especially on objects like this. Okay, we come in, it's a box, it's already done, it's already faceted, but I can come in to each one of the edges. Say I want to take that edge, and I want to take this edge and this edge, and I can give it its own smoothing angle. Look at the difference. I don't know if you can see that. See how it gets very sharp here and smooth there? That's what we need to control with our assets. Okay, all of our assets, technically, we don't have a smoothing angle. We have a default base smoothing angle, maybe about 45 or 90 degrees. And what that means is it's just taking two little pins that are sticking out from the edge, or one pin that's sticking out from the edge, and it's splitting those. It's going to take the pin and it's going to split it in half, and to control the angle. That's how that works. And again, if you take a 3D modeling class from me for when I cover game asset modeling or run through the whole pipeline, that's what I'm covering. I will show this in the prep when we get to the prep side. So we can take, I tell you what, I'm going to leave these here because I'm going to send them over also. I just want to test it and show you some stuff here. So let's also center the pivots. Pivot here, pivot there, pivot on the bottom, save that. Let's freeze my transform. And we're good to go there. So I'm going to export those out too. All right, so what we don't have, I'm going to take the floor, export selection, and here, see, you see smoothing group? We're going to leave those the way it is. We're going to just leave those blank. We're not going to change the smoothing group there. All of this other stuff we can leave on by default. Normally it is going to be default. We have a triangulation button. If your team says, hey, triangulate this thing before we send it out, you can do it manually by pressing Control, select the mesh, Control T, or you can let this do it for you. wait, you're asking me what? Oh, I'll hold on. I'll get back. I'll go. Isabel, I'll come back to that. Give me just a second. So we can triangulate that. If you have animations on this thing, like if we have the box spinning, we can save out the animation. We can bake the animation. All that stuff will go over. Okay. So let's just leave this right here. This is where I need to put it in the FBX. Let's give it a name. Which one word was this? This were flat wall assets is an FBX, and let's export this. All right, let's go over here and test it to see if we can bring them in. Okay, so this is where my contents are going to go. I have a starter content, but I think I'm going to create a new folder here by right-clicking, new folder. We just call this imported assets if we need to. Remember, no spaces here. It doesn't like that also. You have to put an underscore character. Open this up. And I now need to just go find the location, wherever that folder is. Again, I need to go find that location. Unreal. Let's go up one. Right there. Oh, wrong one. I'm in the wrong place. FBX. And this is what I need. So let's see if they all come over. I'm just going to drag and drop this in. This window is going to pop up. This window is going to pop up because they are FBX files, and then I'm not going to really make any changes here. And if I had collision on it, there's a section in here about collision, but we're going to create our collision manually. I don't need to make any changes here. I'm just checking everything. See here, per UCX. That's the actual prefix or suffix for the make collision, but I'm just going to leave it on. Okay, and then import all. There they are. Okay, so everything came over. Our walls, each one of these flat walls came over with the material. What do I mean by that? This is the standard surface material out of Maya. We don't need it, but we're just going to leave it here for the time being. I think next week is when we get into materials. But I'm going to introduce you and show you some stuff a little bit here. So let's check this to make sure that everything of what we need is going to be working correctly. So let's take one of these walls. All I need to do here is just drag it in. And we're good to go on that end. If the pivot is in the correct place, let's check this one. Pivot is in the correct place. So now technically what should happen, I should be able to just snap these together. If done correctly, I can snap those to the end. Okay, if you're having an issue with the snapping, it has to do with your grid size right there. So I'm going to keep the snapping on. Let's reduce this down a little bit and see, now I'm getting a little bit closer there. So I would try to say keep these as at 10 or something like this, but we don't need to have it precisely correct, because sometimes you're going to do this thing where you're going to get something like that, a corner little section there, and we want that to snap. I'm going to snap that back to 10. Okay, so this is what we're doing here. This is what we're going to use. So depending on the size of your room, if I hold down the Alt key, I can, is it Alt? Yep, I can clone this and see. I'm just going to slowly start increasing that room and all. So we can bring in another one, say this one here. And let's go and put one. Maybe let's rotate that thing out. And say you're going to start some sort of divider here. There you go. And maybe a corner little divider over here. And if you need to, just rotate 180 to get that connected. But again, you see what the problem is. So we're going through the wall here. So it just depends on how you, we're not looking for perfection for the block out phase. We just want to get something in. So that's why you do this. That's what the whole purpose of the modular stuff is. And I can also do stuff like scale. So say I need to scale this down a little bit and do something like that. I can do that because my pivot is already set to the base. It's set to a corner. And this is the start of all of that. So In Maya, you want to do that for almost every single part here. Let's bring in let's do something like the windows. So let's isolate that. Let's go back up here to the flat walls and isolate or turn. I only want to see this one. Okay, come on. There we go. So I'm just going to isolate those and repeat this. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. And if you put them in a group, you don't have to select them all because the group is doing that for you. So to create a group again, just select everything and press Control G for golf, and you can drop those in. Quickly, let me answer Isabel's question. Mesh display, open up the option box here. So let me show you that again. Mesh display, and I can open up the option box. I have them set, the icons set up here. I also have them nested. In my 3D modeling class, I show you how to create these. Okay. So, but from here, I can just go to Mesh Display, Soften Hardened Edges. Click this little box is an option box to bring up that option box here. And you'll find that for any time you see a little box here, that's an option for almost any other these commands that will have it. Right there. So, all you have to do to answer your question, Isabel, it doesn't matter. If you hit apply, anything that you have inside of the scene, you can go back and just keep hitting it. If you just hit this one, it's going to, like, let me take this back down. If I hit this, it's going to close the box. That's all it is. If you hit apply, the box will stay open. Okay. All right. So let's go. Let me see wireframe on shade. Let's select the walls here. Let's go to File, Export Selection. And what am I calling this? This is wall window. And assets. Export that out. Go back over here. Find your, that's where it saved it. See it? Drag and drop. Same thing. I'm just going to import them all. There we go. And now, drag that in, check it to check it, rotate, and just figure out where you want to put it. This is a modular process for how you're going to build out your assets, and this is how it's normally done inside of Unreal. Okay? And I can continue building off in this manner and check everything. Now, here's the real test. We need to test this thing. First, let's save. Save current level as. It's going to put it here. We'll call this room layout. No. To answer your question, the FBX really, this will work with almost pretty much everything. So the mesh displays, if that's what you're talking about, is just something that we can use in an OBJ and an FBX, other formats too. So it has nothing really to do with just the FBX. Okay. All right. So let's right click here. I should be in third person mode. No, I don't know. I might be in first person mode. So I'm going to play here. Yep, we're in third person. So see that size. Now look, collision is on it. That is great. We have collision. We have collision. Can I jump in there? We have collision. And also I'm not running through because collision is, so the collision is being set for us because when we imported this stuff, it said something about it had collision on it. You can strip it. But let me show you where, if you need to change your collision. Right? I'm going to show you this. I'm going to, let's take this one here. If I come to this asset and double click it, it's going to open up a different little window here where we can check this file. So this is my piece here. It gives me some information. It shows me the number of tries. I can see UVs if I have the UVs on them. These UVs are not my UVs. These UVs are terrible. Don't worry about UV mapping right now. It's not prevalent to this class, but any UVs you can actually see and test your UVs here. The collision though, we want to see the see the collision. So first I need to come up to collision. Where is it? There's a show collision. Show simple collision. So this is my simple collision, but you notice something. See these little green lines? This is called a hull, Hull. This is my collision volume. If I needed the character to jump through the window, it's never going to be able to jump through that window because the volume will not allow it. It is blocking out that circle there. You can change that. So if I come in here, I can say auto convex collision, and let's see if it'll run through its thing. It's going to bring this thing up right here. There is an option where you can automatically just tell it you can remove the collision. Like I'm going to remove the collision here, and then I may tell it I want to use a convert boxes to convex. Let's see what happens here. Yes. And I see something, but they're not blue. So let's go back in here and let's see. We can do auto convex, and then I can come in and tell it I can make changes here. So as I hit apply, that goes back to that one. I can increase the number of the hole count. I can just play around with this a little bit and keep doing it. I'm still not getting the auto convex that I need. It should automatically give it to me. And this is where the problem comes in. There is a method to basically cut this out. It should do it for us. Simplify, 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 remove collision. I'm going to remove it one more time. Let's convert this to a convex. And let's see if we can apply. No, it's not going to do it. But there is a way of doing that. Let me see if I can. I made a video. I got to find the video. I think I have a video someplace where I cover that, or I'll find information for you. But for the sake of, you're not going to have a character that's going to be jumping through anything, so you don't need that. But this is where you definitely can make your changes to your collision. What should happen though is as I increase the hole count, it's going to change. It'll change all of this stuff here. So, it's calculating. I don't need it to crash. See, it's a little different now. We're getting a hole there. The hole density, apply. If you go crazy with this thing, you may crash the system. So apparently I didn't have the info up all the way. I'm scared. I'm a little leery about doing this. Yeah. So yeah, there's a way of maintaining that shape. Let me see what I can find for you. But it takes extra work. It means you have to do all that work in whatever 3D package you're using. So if I do want something like this, I can just save it. And we're pretty much ready to go. So when I come back in here, if I have it in, I'm not going to be able to see it. But if I could throw a ball or something through that hole, if I could jump in through that hole, I would be able to jump through that hole now. Okay. Any questions? And this is your assignment. And the next part of the assignment is to actually lay out and model out your rooms. My recommendation would be to go out and find 4 floor plans and do what we did last time. What you can do is you can add a plane here and map the floor plans out so you know exactly where you're going to be placing your walls. Okay. Then things like furniture. So say for example, we got remember that countertop. So let's duplicate this. Don't I have a longer wall in here? Let's do that. Let's take one of the longer ones. Make my big kitchen with the little divider, this little nook, and I need to go and find. Let's take the what are they? Yeah, the counters. Let's isolate. Let's find the counters. Let's isolate those. File export, selection. Come on. Assets. I'm going to leave everything the same. I'll tell you what, I'm going to hit triangulate this time just so they're going to come in and triangulate it. Excuse me. And export that. And let's drag and drop those in. If I can strip out, see one comment that's that I can turn off some of the collision in here. There's a way of turning off the collision, but we're just, since the collision is working, we're just gonna leave it. I don't need to worry about that. Close it. Here we go. And one has I probably should have named these better, like counter with sync. Here we go. Yeah, you can. Yeah, Kai, you can add, definitely. Yeah, you should be adding more. Definitely do that. Add more. Add more. I'm gonna put you all on something. Here's an idea. I used to do this with one of my students. He was ex-military, and he took my Unreal class, and he's pretty much a go-getter. He was in the Air Force, and his mom worked for a company that would make kiosks. And at one time, he started a business doing that, and he was trying to not sell his business. He wanted to keep the business going. He was trying to give away his business. Here's what he was doing. He built simple assets for his mom's company. They were paying him a lot of money to do this stuff. And he was, before they would even build the kiosk, and then you know what a kiosk is. Some of these things, you go to conventions, you see these big intricate type designs. You go in and they got walls up and all this type of stuff. He would design those, or take their layouts and put them together and show them in Unreal. He would have the character walk around before, so they could say, hey, I don't like the position of where this thing is, let's move it here. I don't like the position of that. I don't like this awning here, let's move the awning. Let's reposition it. Let's change the color. So they could actually walk through. Not only was he doing it this way, he had it set up for VR. So he could put on VR goggles, and they could see. They got to see the space before they built the space. And all of you could do something like that. You can start. That's a business. You can start a business. You can work with architecture firms to do that type of stuff. And hey, I can take your floor plans. Let me lay it out. And this is what it's going to cost, but let me lay it out. We'll set up the VR stuff. If you want to walk through the actual house before, or you want to walk through the environment and see the floor plans, if you want to make changes, how many cabinets and all this stuff, we can do all that stuff for you. That's a business. And he was doing that while he was a student. The Air Force was covering his costs, but if I'm not mistaken, he was able to just pay off everything. He made a lot of money doing this type of thing. Not as much money as he did. He went back into the private sector. He's doing a lot of 3D printing with aircrafts and stuff like that. But not because that was a whole lot more money for him. So I'm just putting it out there that some of you could take and do stuff like this using Unreal. A buddy of mine here in town was doing architectural stuff where he was helping people sort of lay out their kitchens, their bathrooms by using Unreal, the whole VR stuff too. And what he was doing was he would give them options. He wrote an app. He was giving them options to pretty much decide on the finishings. Okay, they could decide on all the finishings, all the goodies that they may have wanted. Yeah, the snapping is going to be a problem. But you see, this is what you're working on this week. So I'm just throwing out some ideas for you. Okay, you start that business, I want my 15%. I'm just saying. All right, any questions? Speak up. I know some of you may have questions about you may have questions about this part of the assignment. If you don't, great. Okay. All right, let's take a look at real quick. I'm going to show you briefly how to make changes to the material. Now the material is coming, this default standard material is coming out of Maya. If we hit that little sphere right there, this opens up the Hypershade. The Hypershade will show us how many assets and what assets has a material on it. So I can come back in here and assign a material if I want to assign a material. So we have these two room assets, and I have the standard one. I think the standard one is what's being used here, but at any time I can give it one. I'm not going to do it here, but over here, this is the one that's coming in. So if you don't like this, say this particular color, when you bring in your assets, all we need to do is come over here and double click. It's going to open up the little graph editor here for making changes. And you see here, this is a parameter. This parameter is connected. This is the only thing you all need to do. You don't need to go in here. Next week, we're going to go into more detail about what each one of these are. It's going to be a lot of terminology, because when we're building game assets, you need to know what normals are. You need to know roughness, specular. This is a PBR layout, but that's down the road. All I need to do here is select this node or double click on this node to open up a color picker, and I'm able to come in now and make changes to the colors here. So if I want to go into more of a brownish, taupish type color, by all means I can do that, and we're done there. If you want to make this whatever color you feel like you want, don't go crazy here. Keep that stuff desaturated. And if you don't understand the difference between saturation and desaturated, this is saturated, really intense blues. This is desaturated. You're going to start pulling the color out a little bit. So in our fields, normally we don't like a lot of that type of saturation here. We want the lighting is going to affect how colors are seen, so you want to be real careful there. So I'm just going to desaturate out these colors a little bit, and let's take it over to a greenish looking color, maybe some sort of meal green, military green, a little more yellows in there. Okay, so desaturation also can, because of the lighting, it can really increase the brightness there. So I'm just going to, I don't like that line. Let me make a change there. I really don't. Let's go darker. There we go. So I'm going to apply it and save it and then close it. And see, there we go. So we can make changes there. If you want to, and don't go crazy here, please do not go crazy here. We can take this, we can duplicate it. We need to, and see, it's going to give it another name. We can give it a maybe just furniture. If you have furniture in your, and I like to put MAT, capital MAT for material there. So and this one will be my, let me close this. This one is going to be my wall. Come on. If you need to rename, press F2, rename. Black color. MAT underscore capital MAT. So now I can come in here to say this furniture one, and we can change the color here a little bit if we need to do it. So if I have, and let's apply that, save it. There's nothing to apply it to, but say here I can drag and drop that right there. That's it. Yeah, ceilings. Yeah, you can add ceilings for hanging lights. Yeah, you already have that. So if I want to say bring in a ceiling, I can take this. Here we go. Flatten it out and try to figure out exactly my alignment, how I'm going to align these things up. Am I going to do it in multiple? I have multiple parts. And you just want to work on where you're snapping this thing to, how it's going to be snapped. Okay, we can increase the scale here, or we can clone and then resize maybe a little bit. And see, if I want to make sure that I'm going to get this correct, turn off the snapping. Wrong snapping. Snapping for scale, turn that off. And see, now I can bring this down a little bit more. Do something like that. Select them both. It's the Alt key and drag. See that? So I can start, I can start putting a ceiling in here. I can hang some lights. You have lights, ceiling fan, or whatever. Remember, this is an 8-foot ceiling. If I'm not mistaken, 8-foot ceilings. The average ceiling is normally going to be 9 feet, depending on the house, the how much you spend on the house, and even sometimes you may have 13-foot ceilings. Okay, so now I'm able to come in and put fridges here. You may want to put a different window in here. So say we want to put a window over here on the other side there, right there. So I'm going to delete, take this one, so to get more lighting. Better lighting in here. And yes, you'll have to work on your alignment your snapping alignment. If done correctly, you won't have to deal with this because I turned snapping off. So, oops, I don't want that. Let's move to the inside. We're gonna have to move this little section here, maybe right there, just to cover up that gap. Doesn't have to be perfect, not for now. I mean, later you would have to sort of snap these correct and get them in the correct place and do the best you can here. This can be a problem down the road for most when you're working on games. Back in the day, it was a big major problem. If you didn't have your collision correct and if you didn't have things in the correct place, what would happen is people would figure out how to get themselves under the map, place themselves under the maps by going through these gaps. So it's not perfect, but look, now I have a way, and then I can play around with the direction of the lights and all. So this is what you're doing here. Any questions?
Yeah, if we change the pivot in Maya, do we have to change it again in Unreal?
If you change the pivot should are coming over from Maya.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but if you need to change the pivot location of a particular, say a wall there, if you want to put it on in a different place, then here you can just rotate. But if I need to change the pivot, it's Alt and the middle mouse key. There's also a way, I think Ola showed me this. You can snap. I can't remember where you can snap those pivots. You see right there, but you have to right click on the pivot. If you go to pivot and you have to set pivot offset here. So now when I come back, see what it did is it went back, so I didn't do that correct. So Alt, middle mouse button, move that pivot location. For some odd reason, it's not working. Right click, pivot. Is it set pivot offset? Set pivot offset. Here's one of these. So I want to say I thought it was set pivot offset here. So when I click off and click on, yeah, see that might be what it is because it stayed there. I'm not on the ground plane too. See that? See that little gap there? Yeah. So if you have a floor, make a floor. You're gonna need a floor. Make the floors thin so you have a place to actually place your content on. So now if I walk in here, we're not going through the floor. I can move around the space. Can't go through the walls. Okay. So just think about everything, where you're gonna place things. It's about scale now. It needs to make sense. Kitchens, anyone that's working on a kitchen, there's a template. There's a basically the way that kitchens are set up are in a delta or triangle. What that means is you're supposed to have quick access from the sink to the oven to the refrigerator this is the motion that we move in, like that. So island, little gap there. I don't like those little galley styles. Maybe we're gonna have cabinets here or something over here that looks outside. Now I'm rethinking that window being there. Maybe it needs to be put in a different location, or just come in and rotate this out. So the island's there, ovens here with all the amenities and all that stuff. Your cabinets here, maybe you got wraparound cabinets. One then somewhere over on one of these sides here, I may want to take this wall and flip it, so put the window there and then put the fridge on this side. It's just totally up to you. Find floor plans for that. If you have blueprints, you want to match your blueprints. This is why you want to take time. Don't just go in and start building this stuff up. Don't do that. Find floor plans or make your own floor plans and work out. Don't just work out of your head. Okay. I don't have floor plans right now. I have enough experience to know where things go. But what I'm saying is, the best practices is to design everything on paper. Make sure you do that. And test your thing out. Just play around and keep testing it. I got that long wall that's extending. If this is going to be a connecting little area, maybe this comes out into a dining area or some sort of outside area of the house or whatever. And this is just a bottom floor. We're not talking about top floors or anything. That's not what I'm asking you to do here. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah, I had a question. Because it was mostly how earlier that wall wasn't like complete on the floor. Is there a way in Unreal, like in Maya, to like auto snap things onto the floor
I
just to be certain, or
Yes.
do we just have to like snap it on the grid?
No, there
manually?
is. I can't quite remember the shortcut. I have it written down somewhere. There's a shortcut to do
I
that.
think it's X. You said in Maya, right?
No.
Oh,
You mean in Unreal?
In Unreal, is there a way to auto snap things
There
to the
is.
ground?
There is. Someone looked that up for me. I can't remember what the shortcut is right off. I don't have my. I have my Moleskine is not near me. And look, let me give you a bit of advice when for stuff like that. Take the very back page of say your notebook page and start a shortcuts like list. So you want to keep it so you are on the front page and not just the front page. You know, when you open up the tab, the very page, the cover page, that's where I put all my shortcuts. Okay, so there is something that will automatically snap everything to the ground. I wish I could tell you what it was or what it is. You said shift. Who said that? Shift end.
Yep, that's what Google says. Shift end.
Shift end. Let's try it. I'm gonna move this up. Shift end. There you go. I wish there was a way of snapping these pieces together so you don't have these gaps, making sure that the alignment is there. But that's where you want to leave your snap to the default state and start building off of that default state. If you do that when you drag the stuff in, they should perfectly line up. So take that shortcut right there and just take your notebooks and on one of the covers on the end, the inside cover, just write that down so you know you have that for future reference. Okay, anyone else? I'm thinking I need to put what I'm thinking about doing is actually, I don't have a square. No, I don't. I'm thinking about putting a skylight in here so we can get more light in. Cause we're gonna have an exercise in a few weeks. We're gonna be talking about, well, next week I think it's materials, and the week after that we're gonna be covering lighting, how to light correctly inside of Unreal. So I'm gonna teach you also in Maya 3-point lighting, how all that stuff is the genesis for all lighting and where it starts with 3-point lighting, then environmental lighting, and by the time you're done, you can, you'll have what you need for the next class. So lighting, rendering, that type of thing. Okay. So this is your assignment. This is what you're working on for the week. I may over here, I think I'm gonna put up, this is, what week is this? Week 10. So I'm going to put up a week 10 work in progress section. So I'm going to expect to see screenshots of what you're working on this week. And you can take screenshots. Let me remember where that is. Somewhere in here is a button to create a screenshot. High resolution screenshot. So if I want to create a screenshot of this, all I have to do is hit here and capture that. It's going to put it in a specific location. It's telling you where it's going to put it. So see, there's my screenshot right there. Or you can use something else to take a screenshot. And you're going to show me what you're working on at least 2 times this week. So today is Monday. I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna want to see screenshots either on Wednesday or Thursday, and then another set. So if today is Monday, let's do Wednesday and let's do Friday or Saturday. We'll say Saturday by 11:59. Screenshots of what you're working on. Mandatory. You hear me? Mandatory. Okay. This little ceiling thing here, I'm not liking it. What you may want to do is just go ahead and make you one big one, or come up with a series of those, for different sizes, and that way you have a ceiling. Back over in Maya. The ceiling should, I tell you what, let's take something, a floor that's already made. Let's go find flat walls, isolate. Let's take one of these. I'm going to shift to clone it. I'm going to snap that. Ooh, nope, I don't want that. that? Rotating on what? Let's rotate 90 degrees like that, and then we can modify. What I think I'm going to do is modify the thickness, how thick it is. Let me freeze my transforms. There we go. Let's go something. No, let's just leave it. I want to leave it consistent with the thickness of the walls there, and then let's do that. I'm gonna put it in his own group. Control G, take it out of the group. And let's snap that back here. X, snap it there. Let's bring everything back and just select it. Select just that ceiling group, isolate it. See, my pivot's in the wrong place, so let's move the pivot. Insert V, hold down the V key, snap it there, insert, and then let's go ahead and do an absolute Z0. Yep. And let's make a few of these. Shift it up just for the time being so I can see, get the size. I'm gonna right click here and go to face mode, select the face, and just increase that out, make that a little bigger. And right mouse button, go to object mode and snap that back down here. Question. Let's take, we have two of these. I don't want them both. Let's drag that one in there. Take this one and delete it. Open it up. Ceiling 01. Double click ceiling 02. Alright. One other thing I want to do, I'm gonna make a ceiling fan. I'm just gonna make a little small ceiling fan here. I'm gonna use this as a base there to make that thing. So let's go and create polygon cylinder. Scale it up. Frame, press F to frame. It doesn't matter where it goes. It doesn't really matter where it goes. And honestly, I'm gonna leave it right there. And then let's go ahead and delete this one. Let's take these also. These ceiling, let's put it on a group. Ceiling, layer. Put that in a group so I can turn it off. And I'm gonna build a ceiling fan from here. And why are you moving my pivot? Is there a way to curve cylinders? What do you mean curve cylinders? The blades? Yeah, you can do anything. If you're talking about the blades or anything like that, yes, there is a way of doing that. Give me just a second here. I'm going to bring the subdivision count down. We don't need a lot. Keep it even though. Let's go 12. Let's turn the caps off. So these little round caps. Let's turn the caps off. Is that the right one? No, it's not. Caps 0. So I'm going to turn the caps 0. Enter. Yep. Turn the caps off. And let's duplicate this because what I'm going to do here is bring this down. Let's make our tubing. Which I don't want a lot of that. Let's select the face here. I don't have reference. I'm making it up. Well, I got a ceiling fan in the room, in the space that I'm in. Select that one. Clone it up here. Select that face. Scale that face in. Something like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. The back face I don't need. I'm going to remove that back face also. We're not going to see it. And what I want to do here is I want to bevel. I'm going to bevel out. Let's select this face. I'm going to isolate it temporarily. Oops. Isolate it here. Then I'm going to select all the edges that runs across the top, delete these, and hit Control B to bevel. Just give it a small little bevel there, a small little shape. Turn off isolate to get back in here. And I got all this junk in here. So let's go in and turn off everything. So let's turn off everything else in here. Where's the counter? So I just have the balls there. I was going to take those over to show you the smoothing angle. I still can. But let's take these objects here and just put them in a layer and just turn it off so we can just play here. Oh, Maya does this stuff. See that? It didn't connect these all the way around. So here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to delete this one. And let's take this one and clone it back out. I'm going to cap off that. There's a tool in here that says close hole, but better yet, I already have the cylinder there. I don't need to do that either. Let's delete this
Yeah,
one.
they're really small. I'm not gonna hold you.
So I'm gonna take this one. Please mute your mic. Let's make that larger. There we go. I know what I did. I hit up that C button again, which is a sign to see my camera-based selection should be turned off.
Be my girlfriend.
Hey, do me a favor. Mute your mic, please. Okay. I need to make this a little bit larger. I need to center my pivot too, so I'm going to center pivot, which is under modify center pivot right there. So it's going to make that just a little bit larger there. Okay. Now, if I come in here and go to edges, select all the edges, and then deselect the center, make sure that I have all of these selected. What is else is out here? I thought I turned those off. I hit undo. That's why. So again, edge mode, select everything, and then hold down control and deselect everything in the middle. So they're all selected. Control B to bevel, so I can bevel that in just a little bit. Okay, now let's sort of get these blades done. Let's keep it as simple as we absolutely can. I'm going to create a cube here. I say simple, but then I'll sort of not keep it simple. Okay, let's create a cube. Let's compress it. This little part right here is going to connect to the fan on the inside. This little part right here, I'm going to hold down the shift key and extrude it out, and then scale this way, and then maybe scale up a little bit too, just a little bit. Go to move and bring it out here, drag it out. Okay. Next, I'm going to select the edges and Control B to do something like that. I'm going to right click to go to segment since I have a bevel selected, and then I'm going to add a little bit small segment there. I'm going to right click again, go back to offset so I can do that again. Blades are thin. Okay, so blades are pretty thin. What I think I'm going to have to do in this case is go to vertex mode, select all of these back vertexes, and this is just a block out. Remember, we're just blocking this thing out. So I'm going to connect these two together because I need to make some cuts in here. So I'm going to go here to there. And what I'm doing to get to this tool, if I hold down the shift key, right mouse button, over the geometry, I have to be placed over the geometry. Shift and right mouse button, I can go to different commands. Like multi-cut is what I'm looking for. So multi-cut is going to allow me to go from here to there. If you need to find multi-cut any other way, the easiest way to do that is to come here to the modeling toolkit, multi-cut. Give me a second, Isabel. So what I also want to do here is add multiple segments in here. I can try to do that. I can do that with the multi-cut, but Maya has a tool that allows me to. I shouldn't show you this, but I'm going to show you because somebody asked about twist. I'm going to select that edge, and then it's called connect. If I hit connect, I can come in here and slide and add extra segments like that. Why am I showing you this? Because I can add now what's called a deformer. There's deform options right here, and we can do stuff like twist if it's in here. Bend, so we can bend the blades if we want to. I don't see twist, so I'm looking for a linear fall off. I do see wrap, I do see morph, I don't see, no, let's go here, non-linear. So I have bends, I have twist. So let me select the geometry. Let's go to deform, let's go to non-linear and see if we can add more of a twist here. Now this little thing is gonna come up and you have to reposition it. So I'm gonna rotate this. The problem is I can't see how I'm rotating it. I almost like I need to have the snapping options on. If I hold down the J key, I should be able to snap. J for Juliet. I can snap that incrementally. And what I now should be able to do is go back to channel, look for the deformer here, and this is the envelope for that deformer. So there's a start in, and then there's a start angle and end angle. So I can do stuff like that. So the more pieces the more you have here, the easier, the more piece segments is easier it's going to be to sort of twist that thing out. We can change the bending. See that? I can change the position here, so I can twist from there, and I can just twist from different angles there. I also can select the geometry, and I can apply a different modifier here, a bend modifier on the deform, non-linear, bend. Exact same thing. We're going to get this little thing. And see, the problem with Maya sometimes is they don't have any type of iconography indicators to tell you which direction or what you're doing here. It's kind of, this is old school. This is kind of how they work. You kind of have to figure it out. I'm going to hold the J key down again, and let's sort of get that alignment in there. And now let's look at the bend here and sort of get an idea of which way we're going here. So the envelope, no, there, the curvature, oh, it changed again on me. J, rotate that. I'm going to drop the tool, select the geometry, go back to the bend modifier, and now curvature. So see, it's curving in the wrong direction. I don't want it to curve like that. That's what I'm saying here. We have to go find the bend modifier, which is crazy, and I need to figure out which direction it's bending in. So I have the modifier selected. I can see it. There's the handle. So I'm going to hold the J key down and sort of twist this 90 degrees and see if it's going to give me what I need. This is the one thing I hate. So I see it's working now. I get something like that. So the blades can hang down. And then we still can play around with the position of the drop. When I'm ready to commit, select the object, delete my history, and now I can commit there. Like that. Next, let's get this into position here. Let's just bring this in. Maybe right there. And you just need to decide on how many blades you want. Simple to do. There's a few things we can do here. I need to move my pivot. I'm going to press insert, and I need to snap my pivot to the origin right there. So if I hold down the X key, I'm just going to snap it right there. So now, two different ways of doing this. So let's delete my history first, because these have to be zeroed out. So edit, delete by type, history, or I have a button already set up, delete my history. And I want to free, not that deleting history is to delete everything there. I want to freeze my transforms. So display, no, modify, freeze transformations, but I have a button set up right there. So now we're ready to go. You either can, if you hold down the shift key, first go to rotate. If you hold down the shift key, we can clone like that. But you see how fast that is moving just by me cloning? Or we can create a duplicate. There's a way of duplicating those. So edit, duplicate special, click the option box, and now I can tell it how many I want. Maybe I want 4 of these, and at what angle I want these. So this lane is X, Y, Z. So we want to rotate those along the Y axis. Since it's pointing straight up, we want to rotate it around the Y axis. So right in here under rotate, we may want to go 45 degrees. And when I apply that, I get something like that. But I don't have enough. Okay? So we don't have enough there at 45 degrees. It's almost like, see, this is another thing about Maya. It's trial and error. Here's what I have to do sometimes. Here's how I figured out how to do this. First, go ahead and check your position of where you want to go. So that's at 45. and then, or we can say I want to go straight 90 degrees, so we can put in 90 into that little button right there. So I know I want to go, maybe we want to add 3 of these at 90 degrees instead, since it's easier to see what it gives us. So we get something like that. Okay, so any type of little, you can go in and modify it, what you have here. We can change the design up a little bit. We can add some lights in here if we want to do anything like that. But that is going to be my little ceiling fan. What I want to do here is select all of these, combine them. Okay, even maybe I want to combine them also with the tube, because that part's going to spin also. So we can go to mesh combine. I have it set up right there, but now this is one thing. I wish I can show you all how to write an expression to make this rotate by itself, but that's not in the scope here. But we can animate this just by when you hit play, using a mathematical expression, it will automatically start spinning on its own. Okay. If you don't like the design of something, go ahead and delete one of these. Maybe I want the blades to taper out and be a little bit bigger. But let's just say this is it. So I'm going to select this one, all of this. Okay, let's rename it. Or first, I tell you what, it looks like we're going to have to rename this whole thing, or combine it. So I'm going to combine this whole thing. It's going to put it there, and we'll just call it S_fan. I know what it is. Not SC, C_fan. So my ceiling fan there, and I can drop it in a layer, but I'm not. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. File export, make sure everything is zeroed. We have history, delete my history on it. File export selection. Asset. Okay. Make sure everything is there. Export that out. Let's go over here real quick. Let's go find it. I don't know where to put it. Is it? Let's go up one. And demo Unreal. No, I'm in the wrong place. What did I call that? Nope. Give me a second. I gotta go find it. Where did I put that thing? Unreal Room Assets. Yeah. FBX. There it is. So ceiling fan, drop the ceiling fan in, import. There's no all, it's just that. Let's see what happens. Let's close it. And do I have my ceiling fan in here? Yep, there it is. So we got the ceiling fan. Pivot's in the wrong place. I didn't set the pivot. You notice that? I did not change the pivot location. Pivot, it should not be there. Where should the pivot be? Up here, right? So let's insert, and I can drag this thing up. I'm going to have to eyeball it a little bit. And let's go ahead and hit the W key. Let's re-export. File, export. Selection. Ceiling fan. Export. Yes. Come back over here to Maya. Since it's already in here, only thing I should have to do is right click here and tell it to re-import. And let's move that pivot location. Let's see if it changed it for me. No, it still didn't. That's crazy. Did I do something? What's happening over here? 0, 0. I know why. It remember, this is why I was snapping everything here. You see what it's doing? It's technically putting the pivot there. So what I need to do is make sure that is lined up right there, smack there at the origin. And now export. Ceiling fan. Yes. Let's go here, right click, re-import. And see what it did? It snapped it to where it needed to snap to. That's how that works. So if we had a ceiling up there, we would just put this thing wherever it needs to be placed now. You can adjust the scale if you need to. We can come in and say, that's too small. And I can increase the scale just a little bit maybe and start playing around with stuff like that. So you can do that for lights, light fixtures, whatever. So start populating your room with stuff like that. Any questions on this? It's pretty easy, right? Yes, no?
So like for doors, are you gonna show us how to do like so like if the character runs into it, they'll open, or is that for something else?
No, that's mechanics. Mechanics. That's the stuff that you will get in game design too. Remember, this is where I'm teaching you the basics. First, we got through the basics of getting stuff in, how to navigate through the engine. We're going to look at lighting. We're going to look at materials. This is the bare bone basics. In game design 2, Ola normally teaches that class. What she will cover with you is, say, if we need to bring in doors and you need the doors to open, she'll show you how to trigger that. She's going to show blueprint, how to do pickups, she has a whole list of things. She covers a lot of blueprints. So even if you wanted to trigger, have a light switch when you hit that thing, the ceiling fan comes on, she can do all of that. Okay, if that's what you're asking. But that's not needed in the scope of this class. It's not needed. Just bear with us.
Okay.
Y'all, you guys, I know y'all want to have fun. You're getting a little impatient there. I want to go ahead and jump into the deep end of the pool, Mr. Gardner. That's what I'm telling you. No, just get this stuff down first. Practice using the interface. Have a good understanding of what's happening here, because Unreal can get away from you real easily. Okay. So my biggest thing here as one of the instructors is, and I've talked to her about it, at CMII we have a propensity of using outside assets for almost everything. That's great for quick production, but there's circumstances when you need a unique design, when you need to block out, or you have a specific look that you want. If you can model that stuff up yourself, that's what you should be doing. That's what you're going to be directed to do. Now, according to some of the studio people, they're going to have their own assets. They're going to have teams put that stuff together. They may even be using some AI to sort of automate certain things. Here's what they're saying. You need to have enough knowledge of the bare bone basics, because what's going to happen is, what do you do if you do something and the AI screws it up? And the AI, you need to be able to fix it. Okay. Notice something here also. Let me do this. Let's add that on here. I don't know if y'all can see that. See how faceted that looks? It's not supposed to look that way. So this is a good opportunity to come here, go to your mesh display, and change the angle. So we can adjust the angle there. Select that part and adjust the angle. What you can also do is, say you don't want, you want everything to be smooth except for the blades, or one of the blades. You can come in and you can select the blades and give it a specific degree angle. So now when I export this piece out again, export selection, ceiling fan, yes. Right click here and let's see if it changes. Re-import. See, it changed. It got smoother. So no more faceted or faceting. So that's how you do that there. All right. Any other questions before we take off? Let me get the roll.